Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Millar begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, a daughter has been found guilty of smothering her mother with a pillow in her Launceston home a little over 2 years ago. Western Australian woman Natalie Millar sentenced to 23 years in prison for murdering Veronica Kostofan. Miss Kostofan's sister watched on as the verdict was delivered, saying the loss of a sister and a niece feels like a punch in the face.
Found guilty of murder by a unanimous jury, Natalie Millar will spend at least the next 11 years behind bars. Millar smothered her 71-year-old mother, Veronica Kostofan, in her Keene Street home on or about October 3, 2019. The jury delivering its decision after 6.5 hours.
Disbelief. I mean, I knew it was going to come to this, but it's just the minute that you hear the result. It's sort of like it's a punch in the face.
Veronica's sister, Pauline Robinson, sat through the entire trial. She also gave evidence, recounting memories of a sister who she says has left a hole in her life.
Beautiful. That's a simple word. And vivacious and very intelligent.
Tribute also coming from the Labor Party, of which she was a volunteer. Michelle O'Byrne writing, she was intelligent, feisty, witty, energetic, passionate and extremely kind. In sentencing submissions, Crown Prosecutor John Ransom told the court he accepted there was no premeditation. What occurred arose out of a combination of long-held animosity by the prisoner towards her mother, amplified by her consumption of alcohol. Defence counsel Evan Hughes spoke of Millar's complex background and family history, but said the 48-year-old had engaged in rehabilitation opportunities such as education and charity work since being taken into custody. Justice Robert Pearce said he believed this was a crime committed through loss of control or through passion. He doesn't believe she'll re-offend. Millar has been in custody for 2 years already. She'll be eligible for parole in 2032. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A Northwest mother who survived a deadly triple shooting in Devonport at the weekend remains in a stable condition in the Launceston General Hospital. She was seriously injured in the gunfire which killed father of one, Chris Walters, in the early hours of Saturday morning. The shooter, Paul Carey, took his own life as authorities swarmed to the scene. Police are expected to take a statement from the 38-year-old mother in the coming days. A number of Tasmanian homeowners have been left feeling helpless, claiming dodgy builds are leaving them hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket. The opposition has renewed calls for a parliamentary inquiry into the state's building and construction industry, pushing for better protections for consumers.
It was meant to be Leanne Cohen's forever home, but after her renovations were completed in 2016, her dream quickly turned into a nightmare.
I put $300,000 in cash into it, so which is most of the renovations, which are not up to standard.
Leaking walls just the start of her problems. Faults found with both decks, the ensuite, lounge room and main bedroom. With the builder refusing to fix the problems and no one to turn to for help, the house is now uninsurable and unsellable.
You can't sell a house that doesn't comply with code. It's illegal. And who's going to buy it? There could be $200,000 worth of damage. I could give it away, but I can't sell it.
Many left in a similar position.
We are devastated by the sheer volume of stories that just keep coming out of the woodwork.
The opposition says there needs to be better protections in place for homeowners, calling for a parliamentary inquiry into the industry.
There is nothing wrong with putting experts around a table and listening to their advice on what we do very well and what we might not do so well.
A parliamentary inquiry won't fix these building defects. I'm seeking advice as to whether or not we can further strengthen any more of our regulations.
For Leanne, after pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into creating her dream home, she has just 2 options left: to demolish or repair, both of which will set her back even more money.
I would have been better off if I'd just not done anything.
A nightmare far from over. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Bastian Seidel has thrown his support behind a proposal to send the government's controversial gaming legislation to a parliamentary committee. The Legislative Council member quit the Parliamentary Labor Party earlier this year. He says he will reserve the right to move a motion to refer the bill to a committee.
Particularly, this bill deserves scrutiny by the public. It deserves scrutiny by Parliament. And I'm sort of puzzled why not referring it to a select committee wasn't even moved in the lower house.
It's very consequential to our community. It defines what our gambling landscape will be for decades to come. We need to get this right.
The Attorney-General says if the bill is delayed, it will put the plan to end Federal Group's monopoly on poker machines at risk. Meanwhile, reforms to TASTAFE are set to be debated in the lower house this week. The Greens have now confirmed they won't be supporting the proposed restructure.
There's been no argument made for such a huge shake-up of TASTAFE. We know that it would lead to its corporatisation, industry driving the agenda.
TASTAFE teachers will participate in stop work action next week, protesting against the changes. COVID booster shots are now available for those who received their second COVID-19 dose at least 6 months ago. The jabs will be delivered through GPs, Commonwealth clinics and state-run facilities, with bookings available the same way as initial appointments. Tasmania's double-dose vaccination rate stands at 78.7% for those over 16, while just over 90% have received one dose. More than 4,000 Tasmanians have been scammed in excess of $2.3 million this year alone. The rates of con jobs has soared during the pandemic as people spend more time on their smartphones and online. The northern areas of Hobart and Launceston were the state's most swindled suburbs, with older Tasmanians the main target.
The main scams that are happening are investment, online shopping and romance scams. It is a time for older Tasmanians to get scam fit, to understand how they can protect themselves.
The NBN and the state government have partnered for a series of scam awareness events. A sexual assault survivor is calling for mandatory sentencing laws for rapist murderers after her former fiancé was murdered by the same perpetrator in the 1980s. Convicted murderer Jamie John Curtis was released on parole earlier this year, but Tamika Ridgeway wants him to remain behind bars for life.
Tamika Ridgeway was found in the boot of a green Holden after she was brutally raped and tortured in 1986. Her then boyfriend was murdered by the same perpetrator, Jamie John Curtis, who was sentenced to life behind bars with a non-parole period of 30 years. He was released from Risdon Prison earlier this year.
During that time, I was really frightened, and not only for myself, but just for the general public.
Tamika is joining the sister of murder rape victim Anne-Marie Cullerton to lead a national push for murder and sexual assault to carry a maximum life sentence with no parole through a Change.org petition.
We need to make this crime, which is the worst of the worst, a standalone crime. There needs to be this mandatory life sentencing imposed to reflect the true nature of this crime.
But some legal experts aren't convinced.
We don't have an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth justice system, rightly so, and we do need to take into account the factors in each case.
The state government has unsuccessfully attempted to introduce mandatory sentencing for other offences in the past, but the Attorney-General Elise Archer says she's open to extending that for rapist murderers following consultation with survivors and the relevant departments. But one organisation would also like to see dangerous offenders publicly named on a register.
In relation to sexual violence, it would be interesting to have a consultation and explore the options for doing that with the more serious ones like the rape murder.
Like Tamika Ridgeway, taking a stand for stronger laws will go a long way in seeking justice. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmanian News.
The organisers of the Effervescence Wine Festival are popping corks after locking in grant funding. $85,000 has been allocated by the state government to delivering the spring showcase of sparklings for the next 2 years. The 2021 event held this past weekend featured 50 of the state's crowning cuvées at paired dinners, public tastings and winery tours. An iconic Tasmanian brand has enjoyed a chilly reception, but in a good way. Bogues Brewery is celebrating its 140th birthday.
Where are we going?
See Jimmy.
Well, Jimmy Douglas?
No.
Jimmy Smith?
No.
Well, we don't know any other Jimmys.
Yes, we do.
Who?
Jimmy Bogues.
They call him Jimmy. They call him...
Pride. I mean, there's pride at every table.
And today, they called him the birthday boy.
140 years after this brewery opened, we're still here today.
From the sud-soaked lines of yesteryear and well over a century of watchful eyes, Bogues has become a northern Tasmanian identity. The brand is known for its long-standing ties to local sport, even bankrolling the Bogues Originals basketball team in the 90s. But efforts to crack markets outside its home state have had mixed results. Bogues Export courageously tried to conquer America in the late 80s.
Well, Roger, what do you think? That's a fine brew. We'll knock 'em dead over there.
And that was before the brand was even exported interstate. Original Bitter, the first to cross Bass Strait. But only Premium Lager truly found a foothold nationwide.
Created that real drive on the mainland for people looking out for Tasmanian beers.
The relaunched St George could emulate that success as its popularity grows.
Yeah, maybe with time we might see that jump the Bass Strait.
These are dark times for the drinker.
And although Bogues makes low alcohol beer thanks to drink driving laws,
out of the darkness comes a light. Bogues Light.
There are no plans to follow the trend to zero alcohol.
Just sticking to our core range, I suppose.
Even this giant can here represents only a drop of what the brewery produces. James Bogues makes enough beer to fill 3,000 of these cans every year. And despite decades of history, the pandemic managed to produce a first.
Luckily, we only had to stop the brewery line once last year, but that's the first time it's ever happened.
And hopefully, never again. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Wildlife experts are working frantically to save a beached whale on a remote Tasmanian coast. The sperm whale became stranded on sand near the Northeast River on Flinders Island yesterday. The 10-metre mammal, which weighs about 12 tonnes, is being monitored and kept comfortable by Devonport staff until specialist animal response teams arrive on the island. The public is being reminded to keep its distance.
Injury may have put a leash on his year, but nearly all clubs are showing interest in Tasmanian draft prospect Sam Banks. Ahead of draft night, he's sticking close to Clarence teammate Baker Smith, who benefited from closed borders at the recent AFL Combine. The performance pressure cooker of the AFL Combine had some relief for Baker Smith.
Obviously no clubs come down and got to watch, which was almost a benefit. You didn't really have prying eyes watching.
Smith has just finished his Year 12 exams and is lining up an apprenticeship as a backup to his AFL dream. He was grateful to go through the tests, while good mate Sam Banks could only watch following a frustrating year plagued by a wrist injury.
In that time frame I wasn't able to do anything on the field, but I just did as much as I could off it, whether it be running, on the bike, those sorts of things.
Despite the difficult season, 17 of the 18 clubs have contacted Banks, some even offering heartening feedback.
The night of my original injury, I had a recruiter from Adelaide call me and, just I don't know, give me a bit of reassurance that it's all good, that's footy, that sort of thing. So they've been really good. And when they talk about my injury, they sort of talk about more the rehab and if I'm doing it properly and that sort of thing.
The Combine crew has kept a tight bond approaching the big night, but the Clarence pair has the added bonus of working under former Roos coach Jeremy Webberley, who is now in charge of the Devils.
It wasn't just a coach and a player, it was just a friend. And obviously just, putting the little things into place, like training us hard when we did go back to Clarence and, making sure we didn't drop our standards.
All the hard work could soon pay off.
In a few weeks' time, your life could change just like that. So, it's just a waiting game at the moment.
Good evening. Launceston and St Helens out top today with 20 degrees. Hobart and Devonport reach 17 and Burnie 19. Temperatures just below average, 1 or 2 degrees shy. Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park 19, Grove 18, Strawn 17, Lowhead and the Islands 16. Some convective low cloud moved over today, mainly shading the west and south. Thunderstorms are active over the north and east of the continent. High-level cover over central parts and cloud following a weakening front is over the Bight. Tomorrow, a broad area of low pressure extends from central Australia to our region. A low develops to our southwest. Winds initially west-northwesterly at 10 to 20 knots, but they will tend more east-northeasterly at similar speeds over the east later. Swells to 4 metres. Tuesday in Hobart, 18 with showers developing, 90% chance of a little drop or two. 17 for Adventure Bay, shower or two for Tarraleah and 15. Launceston, possible shower and 19, 16 the top for Devonport, partly cloudy for Bridport, 18 the maximum. For Burnie, showers and 16, showers for Strawn, 17 and 15 for Marrawar. St Helens tomorrow, 20, and partly cloudy, a shower creeping over Swansea, 18 the top, partly cloudy on Flinders, 18 for Whitemark. UV to reach a very high 8 tomorrow. On Wednesday, showers along with snow to 900 metres, conditions clearing during the day on Thursday, and on Friday the showers back over the north and east in the morning, extending to most parts during the day. Further north and a shower in Perth, a late shower in Adelaide, a cloudy 20 in Melbourne, possible shower in Sydney, 24 there, showers over Brisbane, 30 the top, and the wet season getting a kick start over Darwin. Partly cloudy, 16 in Hobart right now, sunny and 17 in Launceston, sunny and 18 in Devonport. Kim, I wish you a very big week of weather ahead, and I hope the sun can shine even brighter than your ensemble.
Oh, you say all the right things. I'm sure you mean it. Thank you, Merv.